Good morning and welcome to Sports Desk Live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on Facebook, also live on Mexico Sports Network. I'm your host, Ed Nunez, along with producer Alden Iowati. Our special guest, St. Pius head football coach Dave Montoya. Coach, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate being able to be here today.
You know, Coach, your Sartans victorious in what a barn burner, man. What a game on Saturday at Community Stadium. That's one for the ages. Honest to God, that game had everything you wanted, ups and downs, lead changes, outstanding performances by your running back, Marco Ibarra, also Dominic Esparza, 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns, nearly broke a punt return. And Coach, talk a little bit about the field conditions, because the St. Pius athletic director, Jim Cook, mentioned that a lot of the players in the third and fourth quarter were cramping up. Talk a little bit about that game.
Exciting game. Actually, both our games this year have been almost the same way, back and forth, really exciting, down to the wire, down to the last series of the fourth quarter. They're fun. I mean, it's all you can ask for as a coach, to be able to be involved in games like that and be able to coach and do that stuff. Saturday was hot. It was so hot on the sideline. It was unbelievable. Our kids in their black uniforms, maybe not the best choice for school colors in the summer, but it was a great game. It was fun to be a part of. It was great to see the kids compete on both sides. I mean, Kirtland Central has a heck of a team, a very tough team, and it was just fun to be out there.
You also had a barn burner the week before at Bloomfield, and Bloomfield came in, I believe, and lost to Hope on, I believe, or did they beat Hope? I can't remember.
They beat Hope on Saturday.
They beat Hope, and you lost 29-26 to Bloomfield in your opening game. And you mentioned you thought your team was at a solid B in that game, and you mentioned that you thought you had your chances near the end of the game. In the red zone, as the game is winding down, you just didn't get your chance to go in and finish the job.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we had the ball with, I think, about a little under 5 minutes left. We converted a 3rd and 10 that got negated by penalty. And if we just kind of clean that up, we probably are able to kind of put that game away. We didn't, and they were able to beat us. So we've had just 2 weeks of just back and forth football with those teams up there by Farmington.
You mentioned one thing you talked to me last week about your games against Kirtland Central in the past have always been up and down the field, always last possession, 1-score games. That game on Saturday did not disappoint. Talk about Zach Thomas a little bit. And Camden Cragen was the quarterback for Kirtland Central. Now, Zach Thomas, the Marco Ibarra's counterpart, that kid has vision, cutback skills. He gave a vicious forearm to, I think it was Marco Ibarra. I think he beat, man, I just couldn't say enough about Zach Thomas. Also, Marco Ibarra, who along with Dominic Esparza was our Jackson Compaction player of the game. But talk a little bit about Zach Thomas. That kid is one impressive running back.
He plays both ways. He's probably their best defensive player, and he kind of carries the load for their run game on offense. He runs extremely hard. He's got a low center of gravity. He's always trying to fall forward. And you just gotta wrap up and drive your feet and hope for the best when you play a back like that. And he did a phenomenal job Saturday. He had to be exhausted by the end of that game. He just ran up and down the field on both sides of the ball. He had a lot of tackles against us, had made a lot of big plays. So hats off to him. He's an impressive kid, impressive running back.
The yards after contact were the ones that impressed Coach Ottman and myself. At one point, you had 4 Sarton hats on him, and he broke out of that for 2 more yards. At one point, he threw Sion Jones aside. Sion Jones thought he had him by the sideline and was going to push him out. And again, your defense did a great job of bringing. I'm sure you said we're going to have to bring a lot of tacklers to get him down, gang tackle him. He was just so impressive, as was Marco Ibarra. You guys had more impressive plays in the end than they did. That's what it came down to, right? You made, and we'll talk about that game clinching drive. Wow. I mean, 4th and 16 and a conversion there to Coash, the receiver, who's one of your best players. There's no question about it. And put the game away on that last drive. But I'll tell you, Kirtland Central just kept coming. There's some highlights right there. There's Ibarra on a touchdown run. Can you see those, Coach, down the left sideline?
I can't, but I mean, I've watched the film probably 15 times since Saturday. No, it was back and forth. Like I said, that they're a tough team. They kept coming. We got up at one point by 2 scores, and you think maybe it's hot, maybe it's time for them to pack it in, but they did not do that. They kept coming till the final seconds of the fourth quarter. So, hats off to them. They're well coached, and they have some very talented players.
We're taking a look at Dominic Espada's his first touchdown kickoff return of 80 yards. And I'll tell you, he's another one. We talked about him a little bit. He's got such slithery speed, and if he finds a crease, and here's his second return of 83 yards for a touchdown. This is to open the third quarter, Coach, which I thought was key. Once you mentioned not the quickest 40 guy, but the football speed. Look at him. He's got a little swag there.
He does. He does.
You got to like it, though. I like that.
He's got a lot of pride, and you can just see it in the way he plays. He's got a lot of pride in himself and a lot of pride in how he conducts himself. So you can kind of see it in the way he plays, and I enjoy it. I mean, I'm not going to try to change a kid. He has to do it within the bounds and the rules of the game, but it's good to see that personality come out.
That was the Ibada's game-clinching touchdown in the fourth quarter. And I'll tell you something. I'll tell you what. By the end of the game, Coach Ottman, who has coached many years, Coach
Ottman's a lot too. He's seen a lot of football because he's repped a lot of football games too.
You know what, that guy? I'll tell you one thing. It's funny. You're gonna laugh about this. I love him. I absolutely have the utmost respect. He'll say no matter what the formation is, quads to the right, motion. Well, you still got to block and tackle. Still got, yeah. So he's about fundamentals. And I'll tell you one thing about Coach Ottman that I laugh about. I asked him, I said, hey, would you still want to coach? I was kind of just throwing it out there. Yeah, if somebody gave me a chance, I would. Now, he's not actively seeking a job. He's not. And I'm not trying to be his agent or anything, but I found that, you're right about him and that he loves football so much. How many head coaches became football officials? Not many, right? Not many.
Not many. And then he did that for a long time. I mean, he did that, at least 10, 15 years after he was done, maybe even more. Like I said, he's seen a lot of football in the metro area as both a coach and an official.
He commands a lot of respect. I want to talk to you about that last drive that we saw, which I thought your quarterback, Sapien, Alejandro Sapien, the junior, I thought he really played. You managed him well. He threw when he had to. Now, the running game is going to soften up things for the receivers, but I thought Alejandro Sapien really came through with a clutch 4th and 16. And Chris Koash, who has as good a hands as anybody there is in the metro area, as you mentioned, he plays basketball, so does Alejandro Esparza. And you mentioned to me that Chris Koash might be your best athlete on the team.
Yeah, Chris is, he had like a 36-inch vertical as a sophomore. He ran low 4.7, high 4.6 40 for us this year. He's a phenomenal athlete. Just a phenomenal athlete. We saw that right away with him as when he was a freshman. He has not played a lot of football. He's probably on his maybe 10th tackle football game, 12th tackle football game as a junior, which is kind of because of COVID. He only had 4 games last year. He had 6 as a freshman. And then, he's played in 2 this year. So, he hasn't played a lot of football. His best days of football are ahead of him. Great athlete. And then Alejandro, they call him Ice. That's kind of his nickname. And that's just, his personality. He commands respect in the huddle. He doesn't get rattled very much. He played Yaffle and was a pretty good quarterback in the Yaffle ranks. And it's kind of just done a great job for us. He started his last game of his sophomore year, our last spring game against Portales, and he has just been phenomenal for us since then. He's thrown over 100 yards in all those games. He's had completion percentage over 60% in all those games. So he's done a great job for us in our offense.
How much experience does Alejandro Sapien have being behind the center as a starting quarterback? How much experience?
So he started 3 games for us on varsity, and then his freshman year, he played in all 6 freshman games that they had, C-team games. We brought him up at the end of his freshman year, but we unfortunately didn't have any games that we could get him in when he was a freshman. I really thought that he would come in as a sophomore and really, really challenge for that starting job. But I think kind of everything with COVID and then just he plays basketball, so them kind of switching the seasons. He thought he was going to go into basketball season, and then they're like, no, we're going to do it the other way. And I think that kind of just he just lost a little bit of focus. So in the spring, he did not have a great spring for us at the beginning. He had some other things going on too, but he didn't have a great spring those first few weeks and kind of put him down on the depth chart. But little by little in the spring, you could kind of see that he was getting better every week. We started him the last game against Portales, like I said, and he just has done a phenomenal job since then. I mean, had a great summer on 7-on-7. Has done a great job for us so far this year.
Wouldn't say that he has the biggest gun, right? Not the biggest arm, but I'll
No.
say, yeah, he's a smart quarterback though, and having Marco Ibada and Koash and Esparza. Hey, coach, you got some bullets in the gun, man. There's no question about it. You got weapons, and they have to be accounted for. They definitely have to be accounted for, and I think that's going to definitely help Alejandro Sapien's development as a quarterback.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I have a lot of trust in him. He's like I said, he played Yaffle football, so he's used to being a starting quarterback and what that means and the things that he has to do. So I have a lot of faith in him. As a kid that's only started of just 3 games, I kind of view him a little bit more of a veteran player than you would a kid that's only started 3 varsity games. He has a really bright future in a few different athletic endeavors at Pius because he's a good basketball player as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, Coach Myers, who's, I know very well, my son coached, I told you, at St. Pius with Damian Segura. He's got to be happy having Sapien, Koash, and Esparza. that's and then he's got Gene Trujillo, the baseball player out there too.
Yep.
So Coach Myers mentioned to me that, he's going to have a good team, and you've got some. I'll tell you what, I'm impressed. I was very impressed with the playmakers you have. That Pius is going to be someone on offense, and we'll talk about defense here when we get back. But they're going to be a force, I think, to be reckoned with on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, we definitely have the talent. We need to clean some things up, obviously, but we definitely have the talent in the right spots. And if the kids just keep working and we keep working all in the same direction like we're supposed to, we're going to be pretty good and hard to beat.
We'll take a break and come back with St. Pius head football coach Dave Montoya after these messages on the Sports Desk.
Second down. Pretty going deep, and he is going to get him. It's a touchdown for Zach Feehill.
I don't know. I just don't know how you allow.
Avoided a near mistake by her team as her libero Dunn was out there. Meyer!
Field goal, long field goal. Looks like about a 35-yard field goal. Ball's placed down, and it looks long enough, and it's good. Wow. Beautiful kick by Logan Fuller from the 35-yard line.
Got single coverage on the right side there.
Yep.
Safety back to pass,
He's
looking
looking
to his
left.
left.
Now he's looking right.
Steps up in the pocket. He's got time.
He's
Steps
gonna
up,
throw-
throws, got a
wide
receiver.
open.
Wide open to Koash. Koash, he avoids a tackler. He's down at the 10-yarder. That's huge.
It's the junior. Two-step drop. Looking to score. He's being pursued. Gives the ball up. Huskies come up with the ball. Man, oh man. Big run by Feehill.
Long run, Feehill. He's going to go over 100 now because he's going to go all the way. This time for the house call. It's actually Rice's 3rd touchdown of the night.
One of his best friends, so there's the kick, and it's a squibber, and it's going to be caught on the run by Esparza again, trying to set up return right. Esparza trying to cut it back upfield, still on his feet, got some blocks, he's got the edge there, cuts it back inside. Esparza could be on his way to a touchdown, one man to beat. Esparza down the right sideline, he's going to score on an 80-yard kick.
And there we go, wide receiver screen once again. That picks up the first down, squirting out. And look at this, here we go. And he's taking off like nobody's business. And it's could be, this is going to easily go. Boom, touchdown.
Gerardo, late addition to the game for the Monarchs. The late blitz from 92. Long down the middle, he has his man. It's Cordova, and you can kiss that one goodbye. 89-yard touchdown pass, Gerardo to Cordova.
Davis has failed to run in for a touchdown twice. Keep an eye on the man to the left of Davis. No, instead they go the other way to Dello Davis. He's in trouble, throws, and the pass is caught by Elmore in the end zone. And at the buzzer, Duke City ties the game at 33.
That was a great play.
Welcome back to the Sports Desk Live on Comcast Channel 26, also the New Mexico Sports Network, and streamed on Facebook. And Nunez, along with St. Pius head football coach Dave Montoya, and coach a couple of weeks ago. It's tragic, right? Coach Phil Griego, the former girls basketball coach at St. Pius, threw on 3 state championships there, passed away at age 60. And I interviewed Coach Kevin Hilsey at halftime at the game on Community Stadium on Saturday. And I just wanted to you to get your thoughts about that, because I'll tell you, he was a great coach, right? But a better human being. I love the guy. He's going to be missed by so many people.
Yeah, it's just really hard to believe everything that's happened with Phil. He was such a great person, always friendly with everybody, always there to listen to your troubles and kind of give you good advice. He really helped me when I first got the head coaching job, and even before then as an assistant coach. Just being a mentor and telling us younger coaches at Pius kind of like, hey, these are the things that you're gonna have to deal with, and just always being so supportive of the football program. I know he was a huge supporter of San Juan Mendoza, and they were good friends. It's just hard. It's just tough. It's a tough loss. Just very, very sad. I just couldn't. I mean, I still, in a lot of ways, just can't believe that it happened.
I think a lot of people can. We just wanted to get your quick thoughts on that, because I think he deserves that respect. I love the guy. Whenever I saw him, it was great moments, even when I was officiating his games, and he might have disagreed with the call. After the game, I think I told you, I'd be like, are you all right now, baby? Are we good? And we laughed, and it was always a hug every time I saw him. I think, again, remember, there's Hall of Fame people that have been in Hall of Fames. This guy's a Hall of Fame person. That's what you need to say here, right?
Oh,
Hall of Fame
sure.
basketball coach, but a Hall of Fame person, and we need more people like Phil Griego for sure. Anyway, Coach, I want to go ask you again about Saturday's game. A great game, one for the ages to me. I love that. That game was so entertaining. 41-34, St. Pius over Kirtland Central. You got Valley coming up next, I believe. You got Valley coming up, and Coach Aiden Thomas, the sophomore. Talk about him, man, because I'll tell you, I thought Camden Cragen had his way. You gave up a couple of long passes. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I thought that Aiden Thomas, 2 sacks, forced fumble. I thought he changed things on the defensive front for the St. Pius Sergeants. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, Aiden's just a very talented young man. I mean, he's only a sophomore. He's 6'4". He's probably around 238, 240. Big kid, very athletic. He's got great feet. He can move. He starts for us at left tackle and then starts up for us on defense as well. But we rotate him in and out a lot on defense, just so he can get some breathers. But he had a great game on Saturday, and he's just going to get better. He's another kid. We only had one C-team game last year, so he only played one tackle football game as a freshman, and now he's getting kind of thrown into it varsity-wise. So he's going to get a lot better as he adjusts to the speed of the game at the varsity level. He just has a huge, bright future. I mean, he's going to be a kid that's going to be able to play at the next level somewhere. And if he just continues to, work and improve and do the things that he needs to do in the classroom.
That's amazing that he's only had one tackle football game And I'll tell you, because if you look at it, and you're a football coach, I'm not. The instincts that he showed on Saturday in rushing the passer, he disrupted. He was a disruptor in the third quarter. And Camden Cragen wasn't as comfortable in the pocket with Aiden Thomas coming at him. He changed some of the games. Yeah, I thought he did.
Yeah, no, he did. They were having a hard time blocking him. He was doing a great job using his hands. And that's just that stuff. He's just going to get better at that stuff. I mean, he's just going to get better and better as he gets older.
Coach, I want to ask you, you were an assistant under San Juan Mendoza for many years. I have all the respect in the world for Coach Mendoza, won some titles at St. Pius himself. What did you get out of his tutelage, working under him for as many years as you did? What did you take from Coach San Juan Mendoza? You got your own style, but what did you learn from him?
Well, I mean, God, I learned so much from San Juan. I think the biggest thing that he did, kind of underappreciated, is we were constantly trying to improve the program, improve our team, improve what we were doing. He never was like a status quo guy. So anytime, every year in the off season, we would sit down and we would talk like, hey, this is the things we need to improve in. This is kind of how I want to change things. We were always trying to improve our program, everything about it, everything from the off season program to offense to defense to whatever. And he was just very open-minded that way. And he was able to really change what we did to suit the kids that we had. So we kind of gave us the best chance to win. And back when, obviously when he was coaching, we were a classification up. So we were having to play, if you're going to win a state title, you have to beat Artesia. And I thought he did a great job of just kind of designing our program to beat Artesia, so that when we had the kids and the talent to be able to compete at that level with them, we had everything in place that we were running the right stuff that we could go in there and win games against them. And that's why he's I believe the only coach in the state that has 2 state championship wins against Artesia. So he had a phenomenal career, and he's an amazing football coach.
I remember the 2015 game against Artesia, the state championship game. I covered that for ProView Networks. Going down to the field and watching Artesia work out in their workouts, there was that swag, that confidence, right? They've got 29 titles. What am I doing down there talking to them, right? But I'll tell you what, Pius, Drew Ortiz, what an amazing performance that day. And you mentioned Coach Mendoza was a great coach. Almost I had him coming on to commentate that game. He just couldn't make it. We'll have him on for another game. But I got to ask you this, Coach. You mentioned St. Pius itself, right? Has gone through some enrollment issues, things like that. We hope that, I love St. Pius. I told you, my son went there, my brother and sister went there. I went there to the old Pius for 1 year. Deep love for the Sardins, no question. But I've got to ask you this. Where do you think your program is from last spring? Because everybody took some hits, right? About player development, things like that. COVID, stop, start, pods of 5. Where's the Sarton program right now? Because looking at you going into your 3rd game, you look pretty good.
Yeah, I don't think you'll see the impact on our program from COVID until probably next year. Just not being able, we just kind of lost a year of development for the kids that are going to be sophomores and the kids that are juniors. And I don't know quite how you get that back. Everybody's kind of dealing it with the same way. It impacts us a little bit more because most of our kids have not played Yaffle or played in the tackle football, in middle school. So it'll be interesting to see how that impacts us going forward next year when we get some of these kids that lost out kind of like on a whole year of football. Basically, we played a whole year of football in 4 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever, and just seeing how that impacts their development. We're going to have a really good offseason this year to kind of make up some of those deficits with our kids.
I think every program is probably going through some of that in the city, and as far as probably in the state, right? Mm-hmm. Some numbers in some programs are down for sure, but you mentioned the YFL thing, and some of the kids you have not had a lot of experience. But I'll tell you what, they've been impressive when you threw them in the fire. They didn't show that. They showed at least some great instincts when you put them in. Now there's a lot to learn, right, Coach? There's a lot to learn. There's a learning curve. No matter how good you look with no experience, there's still a lot to learn and a long way to go. But I tell you, a guy like Aiden Thomas, you got to be pleased in seeing that with only 1 tackle football game under his belt. The way he played on Saturday, he could be a difference maker for sure.
Oh no, for sure, and he's already a difference maker for us. He has been a phenomenal left tackle for us. already just in in our first 2 games. We've run over here. Our last play that we scored on, we're running right behind him. Not that I'm doing that purposefully, but I'm not hesitant to run behind him, and he's done a great job. Um, you know, you just wish that you would see what he would have been like if he would have gotten 6 games last year as a freshman on the C team, and then maybe got moved up and had a whole season, or also the whole off season to lift and do all that stuff. We weren't quite as limited on that, but there was still last fall nobody was lifting, and the people that when we were trying to lift, it's at home and they're using homemade weights and homemade this and homemade that, so it was tough. That part was tough, and you just wonder what these kids would have developed, where they would be if they would have had that development time.
You got to be saying that to yourself on the sideline, though. You're right. A lot of people had to do things without having formal workout sessions and the right equipment, but you got to be shaking your head like, wow, gosh, he made those kind of plays. He just got natural instincts as an inside pass rusher, right? Natural instincts that you can't teach.
And he's a great athlete. Like, you don't see, a lot of times you get guys that are big guys that are 6'3", 6'4", and they have trouble with their feet, or, they're just kind of not as coordinated, and he does not have any of those problems. He's been blessed to have great genetics, because he can move around with the football. He can move around, on defense and offense with his feet. He has great feet. He could probably play tight end for us, honestly, if we had more linemen. He's just got that much athletic ability.
Yeah, he's got great feet. He's at left tackle, right? He's got great feet.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question about it. I want to ask you this, Coach. Does it concern you a couple of times in the secondary on 2nd and 3rd and long, you had receivers running free for Kirtland Central? Was there any concern about your pass defense? Was that mixed blown coverages? Does that concern you going forward?
Oh, I have lots of concerns. I have lots of concerns with that. Their two biggest pass plays. We had a miscommunication with the coverage. We had one kid playing one coverage, and then the corner was playing one coverage, and then the safety was playing another, and they just need to communicate, which that's easily fixable. But we had some other breakdowns that I thought we had kind of fixed in the summer through our 7-on-7 stuff that kind of have come back to us again. And so it's just stuff we have to work on. We'll have to spend a little bit more time in practice on some of those things, and just making sure we're communicating right, and people know kind of who their most dangerous receiver is and who we're matching up with. So
I'll tell you what, before the season started, journal writer James Yotis thinks this is a playoff team. Your team is a playoff team. I think so too. And there's a long schedule to go here, right? There's a long schedule to go. You've got Valley coming up, then Taos, Portales, Aztec, Bernalillo, Valencia, Grants, and then a game that you've got to be not looking forward to or ahead. Albuquerque Academy is always a big game with Pius and Academy, right? That's a long down the road. And I'll tell you, the Academy have won 2 straight by 50 pointing their opponents. I've got them Saturday against Hope. But, Coach, what concerns you about Valley coming in to this game this Saturday?
Well, Valley probably has as good a skill guys of anyone I've pretty much have seen this in our classifications, 4A, 5A. The running backs runs tough. They have a good quarterback. They have some good receivers. We have our work cut out for us on defense. We're going to have to play a lot better than we did this last weekend. And hopefully, we can kind of it's hot, and we can kind of just outlast another team again on Saturday. But we're looking forward to it. I mean, our kids get so fired up to play teams from inside the city. So we're very excited for this week.
Well, I'll tell you what, your starting offense is certainly going to be a force to be reckoned with. They're going to have to game plan for a lot of things there, and it's going to be tough to stop anyone. Ibarra, Esparza, Coash, Sapien. There's a lot of weapons to stop on the starting offense for sure. Coach Dave Montoya, St. Pius head football coach, thanks so much for joining us today on Sports Desk.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
You bet. For producer Alden Iwani, I'm Ed Nunez. We'll see you next week on the Sports Desk.